I'm going to try to get out later on today and do an overnight camping trip in the truck bed camper. But I wanted to talk a little bit about knives, and particularly White River knives. White River is a high-end knife company out of Michigan, and they're probably most well known for the M1 Caper. This is the M1 Caper. This is the G10 OD green and orange handle. But I want to do a comparison between the M1 Caper and now a newer model for the last couple of years anyway, that's based off the M1 Caper, which is the M1 Skinner. Well, let me show you how this thing comes when it first arrives. It comes in this excellent custom box. You got the wood engraving with the White River logo. It comes with this cool little seal. I already cut this open. Let me go ahead and show you the inside. Excellent foam packaging, really secure, doesn't go anywhere. Neat little card, tells you the basic information on the knife. So the Skinner overall blade length, 3 inches, overall length of the knife, including handle, 7 inches. It comes standard with the S35 VN steel. To my knowledge, that's the only steel that the Skinner is offered in at this point in time. Hardness of 59 to 60. A G10 handle, we'll see that in a second. And of course, this Kydex sheath. It comes in as well. This is an excellent sheath. I mean, in fact, this is sort of one of the hidden gems of White River, is their sheaths are quite excellent. They got these tension screws as well. It actually comes pretty well. On the M1 Caper, I readjusted that ever so slightly just because I like a little bit of a stronger, but here this clicks right in. It's not even rattling around. That's excellent. It does come with a belt loop already installed. Now, I took this off. Here's the screws for that. Now, when doing a side-by-side comparison between the M1 Caper and the M1 Skinner, what are the differences? Essentially, the handles are exactly the same. These are both G10 handles. Now, I went with the OD green and orange. I just like the uniformity of the look. These are actually two different steels. I got this in Magna Cut. It was a special edition. I think the standard is S35 V, but that's the only one that this comes in. I actually contacted White River and asked if they had any plans on releasing this in the Magna Cut. That way, both of these knives would be the same. They told me, at least at this present time, they don't have any such plans, which is a shame. Although S35 is an excellent steel. I mean, there's no knocking that whatsoever. But these two things are absolutely identical in terms of the handle and the feel. The Skinner is based entirely off of the model of the M1. They both have this phenomenal grip that you have. Excellent when you're working with game and you're not going to slip up and over and slice your finger on that. The jibbing, I think they call it the jibbing, on both of them have it. On the front, this is really wonderful, so you just know kind of where you're at all times, particularly when you're gutting game. Now, the Skinner puts this jibbing up front as well, which is excellent for doing finesse work, right? You're really trying to get in there and get a lot of pressure up front. My only regret with the M1, and this is probably one of my most favorite knives for EDC carry, is I wish they had the jibbing up front here as well, because there are many instances where I'm doing this exact same thing with this knife. And it's functional, it's usable. The features here, it would make sense for them to put the same feature here as well. These steels, both the Magna Cut and the S35, excellent steels. They retain their sharpness really well. Not the easiest things to sharpen. The Magna Cut may be a little easier to sharpen, but not bad at all. But these are high quality blades, and of course you pay for it. I believe this was in the $120 range. This was $160 for the base price. Now, another gem that you have with the Skinner is I went ahead and paid to have, I think it was an extra $20 to have this engraved. Now, the engraving is on the opposite side, and if you can see that logo on there. Now, Superbuck, that is a sportsman's dinner that we put on every year. So either this year or in a future year, this is going to be one of the giveaway knives. That's why we put the logo on. But this is quality engraving. I think typically on the website, you engrave words rather than logos or images. I just contacted them directly, asked if I could do a logo. They told me send it in a vector format. So I did that. Wasn't really sure what it was going to look like, but incredibly impressed with how well that has been laser etched. Either one is going to skin game just fine. You can skin an animal with any knife. It doesn't really matter what it is. I mean, my Buck 110, I've skinned more deer with that than anything else. What I've been using for the last few years is this Buck 113 skinner. And that's a little bit kind of halfway in between both of these. And let me point this out a little bit. You've got on the skinner, you see this incredibly pronounced round edge, which can be typical of a skinner. This might be a little bit more pronounced than most, but you got a lot of blade surface here for the skinning cuts that you're working with, right? Those long sweeping motions. There's another buck knife, I think it's the Buck 103 skinner. That's going to have a little bit more pronounced edge, not quite this pronounced, but more pronounced than the Buck 113. But notice the Buck 113, the roundness of this is about halfway in between here and here. A little bit of a rounded edge would make a quality skinner. If you're only going to buy one knife, this is the knife to buy. I carry this with me quite often. Often I can't wear a big, huge thing like this on my belt because of work situations. And so it's kind of hard to beat a folder in those situations. But this is an excellent skinning knife. I've skinned probably a dozen deer with this. Retains its blade, its sharpness, its edge fairly well. Not as well as these two steels, but this is a great, good quality, sort of averagely priced knife. Not a low-end knife. Nowadays, there's so many high-end knives, I don't even know if you could call this mid-range. But for probably most people's purposes, this is a mid-range knife. So I got this mainly to see how it does in comparison to the Buck 113. Now, by the time it arrived, we had another week of deer season left. We had a big, massive snowstorm. I think it's going to knock me out from hunting for the rest of the year. Likely, I'm not going to be able to skin a deer with this year. We'll have to wait till next fall to be able to do that. But this is a high quality blade. I'm just absolutely excited about this knife, about these steels, the M1. If you go somewhere, a knife show, maybe a store that carries this, if they carry it, ask to hold it in your hand. The moment you put this thing in your hand, I guarantee you this is going to become your favorite knife. It's comfortable, it's easy to hold. I have a high level of trust for this knife when I'm kind of up in something that I can't really see what I'm doing. And you can maybe hit a bone and slide forward. I have been with guys that have done that with actually a dear friend of mine with his Buck 110. He was working inside of a deer and hit something and his whole hand slid forward on it and sliced his fingers to the bone. That can happen very easy. That just cannot happen with this knife. It's just got a pronounced, almost exaggerated front finger hold that's here. And because of that, your hand is going forward on this blade. And that allows what would otherwise be a grip that wouldn't have everything. But because your hand forward on this, I have fairly large hands. And I can hold this nice solid grip, just a lot of security that you have when you're using this. So I hope this has been helpful to you. White River Knives, I'm not sponsored by these guys. I paid for these things out of my own pocket, right? They didn't give me any discount. They didn't give me a break at all. I'm just telling you this is a knife that I like, the knife that I use, and a knife that I recommend to you as well. As always, get outside, enjoy the outdoors, and connect with the God that created you.